Chase Elliott is not happy with how the first 4 races of the 2025 NASCAR season have gone for him. He started strong, but things took a turn for the worse at Phoenix, leaving him frustrated. Now as he looks ahead, he knows his team has work to do. Elliott came into the season with high hopes. He started with the Busch Light Clash, which wasn't a points race, but it still gave him a chance to test his car. He felt good about it. The same top drivers from last season were competitive again, and Elliott believed he was in that mix. That gave him confidence heading into the regular season. The Daytona 500 was next, and Elliott's car was fast. He stayed up front, showing he could compete for the win. While he didn't take the checkered flag, he left feeling positive. The speed was there, and that's always a good sign. Then came Atlanta. Once again, he had a car capable of running with the best. Elliott knows how important it is to be fast at tracks like Atlanta, where the draft plays a big role. He felt like his team was clicking. They were giving him what he needed to be competitive, and the results showed it. At Circuit of the Americas, the first road course of the season, Elliott's strong start continued. He's always been one of the best road course racers in NASCAR, and this time was no different. He had a car that could fight for the win, and he left Texas feeling like his team was in a good place. Then came Phoenix, and that's where everything fell apart. Elliott's car was nowhere near where it needed to be. He struggled from the start, and no adjustments seemed to help. Phoenix is a crucial track on the NASCAR schedule because it's where the championship race takes place in November. If a team struggles there early in the year, it's a bad sign for later. Elliott knew this, and that made the disappointment even worse. By the end of the race, he was frustrated. He knew his team had put in a lot of effort, but something just wasn't working. After 3 strong races, finishing so poorly at Phoenix was tough to accept. It showed that his team still has weaknesses to fix. There's also a big controversy after Katherine Legge made her NASCAR Cup Series debut at Phoenix Raceway. Legge is an experienced racer, having competed in the Indianapolis 500, Formula E, and IMSA road racing. But her stock car experience was limited to 4 Xfinity starts and 1 ARCA start. This became a problem when she spun twice during the race, leading to a crash with Daniel Suarez. Suarez did not blame Legge personally, but he was frustrated with NASCAR for approving her to race at such a high level without enough experience.
I was more disappointed to NASCAR than her, and I mentioned that to her, and I hope that she gets another opportunity because I'm part of the diversity, and I think that having diversity in the sport is something that is extremely important, very, very valuable. Nothing wrong with her. It's just the process. I think the process has to be so much better. You know, we're talking about an elite series. I believe that I'm one of the best racing drivers in the stock car in the world, and if I want to run Formula 1 tomorrow or Formula 2, I can't. I'm not qualified to do that, and I shouldn't, right? Because I don't know the car, I don't know the tracks. I have to go through a process. I'm good enough that I can do it, but it's gonna take a process. So I believe that the process to allow somebody to run in the Cup Series should be a little bit harder for respect to the driver that is trying, to respect to the fans, and to respect to the drivers and team that are running full time because, you know, we work very hard to get into silly accidents like the one from last week.
His opinion was not just his own. Many top drivers, including Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Kyle Larson, have also voiced concerns. Chase Elliott also made a strong statement in an interview with NASCAR on Fox. He said that the Cup Series is supposed to be the top level of NASCAR and that every driver should be fully prepared before competing.
This is the pinnacle of NASCAR, right? You know, this is supposed to be the very top tier of what NASCAR has to offer within their sport and within this discipline. So, you know, I do think that we need to make sure that everyone is ready to go. And I'm not saying, you know, that particular situation was or wasn't. I welcome new drivers from other. This is not me saying I don't welcome these things or anything like that. I do, absolutely. But yeah, we certainly just want to make sure that everybody is geared up and ready for a race on Sunday. You know, the same way that myself and everyone else had to go run ARCA race at Daytona right before we ran our first Trucker Xfinity race. Just make sure we're doing our due diligence there.
Kyle Busch, who has won 62 Cup Series races, has been questioning NASCAR's approval process for years. He believes that decision makers in suits and ties should not be the only ones making these calls.
I feel like I've questioned the approval process for a long, long time, being an owner in the truck series and seeing some young drivers get opportunities at different tracks versus my drivers that I was trying to get them opportunities at some of those same tracks getting denied. So I was very confused, and probably am even more confused now on how it all works. So I think it's broken. I think there's a lot of work that could be done to make it better. I also do feel as though it shouldn't be suit and ties making the decisions always. Certainly there can be some that need to be involved, but I do feel like there needs to be fire suits involved in some of those decision-making processes on those that need to be approved or not approved for various activities.
Denny Hamlin compared NASCAR's approval system to IndyCar. He explained that IndyCar has a proper testing process while NASCAR does not. In IndyCar, new drivers have to go through a structured program and prove they're ready before they can race. In contrast, NASCAR allows drivers to enter races with very little preparation.
We're not very strict in who gets to run Cup cars, and it should be the most elite series, and you shouldn't be able to just come in and whenever you want, and whether there's a test that gets, but then who's paying for that? Is NASCAR paying for it, or is it going to be the teams that's got to pay for this driver to go through a test? I don't know how all this works, but certainly you'd like to see it a little bit more strict than what it is. So in Indy, there's a testing process. Yeah, I don't think we have a testing process. You just have to enter, right? So it's just come one, come all.
Joey Logano gave another example. He pointed out that Kyle Larson, a NASCAR champion, is currently preparing for the Indianapolis 500. Larson has had to go through a long approval process and will get plenty of practice before the actual race. But in NASCAR, new drivers sometimes get just 20 minutes of practice before being thrown into the competition.
Kyle Larson running Indy 500, he has a whole month of May up there and he had to get approved for one, but then he also had a lot of laps to get comfortable with the race car. Like I said, 20 minutes of practice is really tough to say that's good and go jump in and go racing.
This is not the first time NASCAR has faced criticism over its approval process. Earlier this season, four-time Indianapolis 500 winner Elliott struggled in his Daytona 500 debut. Despite getting simulator time at a test session, he failed to qualify on speed and finished 39th after an early crash. If not for the controversial open provisional rule, he wouldn't have been able to race at all. Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex Jr., both experienced NASCAR drivers, were confused about how the approval process worked in that case. The inconsistencies in how drivers are approved have led many to question NASCAR's decision-making. Some drivers have successfully moved from other racing series to NASCAR, but they usually take time to adjust. Juan Pablo Montoya, for example, won races in both Formula One and NASCAR, but he first ran 7 Xfinity races before making his Cup debut. Danica Patrick spent 2 seasons in the Xfinity Series, competing in 61 races before moving up to Cup full-time. This gradual transition helped them get used to stock car racing. Even Kyle Larson, who is known for his versatility, took time to build his NASCAR career before becoming a champion. Most successful drivers follow this path, which is why the recent approval of drivers with little stock car experience has caused concern. So, what are your thoughts on this? Comment them down right now, and while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more future updates.